Hello everybody and welcome back for another one of those weekend looks around the yard and garden. Sorry about the sunglasses this week, but it's beautifully bright out here and I just didn't want to be squinting at the camera all day. So I figured we'd start in the front yard while we've still got some really nice sun on these peppers up here, and we'll just take it from there. Speaking of the peppers, they're not all looking that hot, but here we have, I believe these are the Portuguese hot mix that are left over. And then over on the other side of this bucket we have the Caribbean hot peppers. Neither of those did particularly well this year. As you can see, this cutting from the Cherokee Purple didn't do terribly well either. Definitely time to kill that one. I am amazed that this Kung Pao hybrid is still alive. Very stubborn plant, very happy with that. Still hoping to get some more color on those. But I think ultimately most of these pepper plants are going to get clipped and flip. Here we've got a look at the Nepalese Bell, not having any color forming on those beautiful peppers yet, but it was suggested to me by one of my kind viewers that if I cut these guys at the bottom and then hang them upside down with all of their fruit still on them, those peppers have a pretty decent chance of getting ripe. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Things are growing along quite nicely up here in the front yard though. I'm really looking forward to getting a couple of raised beds set up. Hopefully I'll have those in place for next season. The sweet heat in the front might be the one that comes in. I might take in the Scotch bonnet behind it, or I might bring in the sand dollar over here because I still don't have any fruit, therefore no seeds. But you know, it might just be time to move on too. It looks like that pepper is just too long of a season required for my current environment, so I might just have to make some changes, be a little more adaptable, you know? We'll see, we'll see. Something's coming in though, because up over here, buried in there, we have an indoor planter with a cantaloupe that didn't quite produce this year and is definitely dying off. So I need to get that inside, don't want it cracking and breaking over the winter, and or shouldn't have had it outside to begin with, so getting that in, putting a pepper in it, a little more appropriate, I think. A quick look at the little tiny crab apples we have on the one tree out front still. This isn't the fairy garden tree, this is the genuine crab apple tree. Some of these are getting a little bit soft, but they're a very pretty little fruit. Quite deceptive for how tart they really are. Makes you think, oh look, that'll be sweet, and grab a bite of that. Ouch! Almost remind one of, what is it, Queen Anne cherries. But they're not, they're crab apples. Ooh, Queen Anne cherries. I should see if that'll grow here. Speaking of the fairy garden apple, the season has definitely ended for this thing. So I think I'm going to be taking some advice from Alberta Urban Gardener there and doing some cleanup. Just make it look a little prettier and hopefully be a little bit more productive next year. Give it some strength. That will be on the Clean Valley Farms channel when that does happen. Same with cleaning up these two Saskatoon berries. Still haven't brought that third one up front. Definitely need to prune these though. They're getting far too tall to be manageable. And they kind of block the view of the front street. But again, when I prune the Saskatoons, that'll end up on the Clean Valley Farms channel too. Kind of a permaculture maintenance thing. Got all the pumpkins from last week's harvest sitting out, hardening up a little bit. Fairly dry location, drains pretty decent because of the spaces between the boards, so nothing really sits in puddles. Starting to get some good color on those ones. So we'll do a quick overview of how things look now before I get started on this weekend's chore, which is dropping the corn. Shocks and Lazzy are out here to help me with that, but looked so lush just a few weeks ago. Anyway, we'll get back in a second. These cucumber plants are definitely done. So we'll bring in what's left of their harvest. Well, that's the first batch of cucumbers. Still need to get the ones in front of the corn. And on the left-hand side here, we have the very oddly shaped cucumbers that came from in front of the main corn patch. Corn's next victim here. So here we have the perfect example of what happened to the vast majority of the corn that we grew this year. Just very small, very runted. You know, I'm going to be able to use this for maybe some cream corn, but for the most part, just garbage corn. Here we have the harvest from that right there is the main corn patch, and this over here is the rescued and transplanted corn patch, which I left most of it standing because I want to show you something here. Here we've got the fence boards. Shows how closely everything was planted in the main corn patch that absolutely did not work. And here you can clearly see how spaced out the transplanted, actually twice transplanted most of these, and rescued bits of corn did. And these were, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the nicest looking cobs of corn we got from the garden. So one of this year's biggest lessons, space your corn nicely and it will do significantly better. Even though these were transplanted twice and the plants themselves are so short, they gave us some of our nicest, largest cobs of corn. Now we just got to bring that one down and see if there's any cobs left in that at all. And here we have pretty much the entirety of the harvest from the bunker garden. Mostly just baby corn that's too small even for me to be worth processing and saving as a little jar of it. And I kind of like baby corn, but there you go. Bunker garden corn harvest. Well, Shock's found a couple of ladybugs in the corn and up in the sunflowers, so now I've got about half a dozen of these to release in the bear's den upstairs. Hopefully that'll help my situation a little bit. And here's an overview of the gardens without all that corn. Looked so lush and beautiful. Big lesson about spacing for that this year though. Definitely going to give them more room next year. Here we've got a bunch of tomatoes I forgot about when I harvested stuff. And it looks like I wasn't giving tomatoes enough credit. These guys seem to be doing fine with the nighttime temperatures. However, I have lost a couple of pepper plants already. Go look at those. The sage is doing fine in this particular bed, but the eggplant back there took a serious hit with the colder nights. A few of these peppers definitely. I've got poor purple freak. St. Thomas Bane beside it. And then I think that's a sweet heat beside it. Clearly not doing well. Some of them, however, the banana pepper seems to be dealing with the temperatures just fine. Ancho poblano, whatever it is. I guess it's a poblano when it's fresh, and it's an ancho when it's dried. I don't know. I've been calling them anchos all season though. But that plant's still doing fine. The garden salsa is still doing just fine. To a point of I still don't have any color because it's, you know, worried or anything. So it looks like I'm going to be harvesting a lot of green peppers off this in the long run. But as I mentioned previously, odds are I'm going to be hanging the plants that have peppers on them and hoping they ripen that way. Oh, there's a poor victim of the cold. Tragic. So yeah, here's the rescued pepper patch. Not a lot of fruit in there. We'll see. We'll see if anybody here gets saved or not. You know what is doing well in the cold though is the kale over here and the replanting of the peas. We might actually get some flowers on there. Don't know if we'll get any fruit, but it doesn't take long from flowers to fruit with peas. And cabbage seems to be doing just fine. So that's good. Might get loony size heads of cabbage or maybe even bigger. Kale. I suppose it'll be time to harvest those carrots soon. Be interesting to see what we get out of that and those replanted beets. The chard over here seems to be just doing fine. A little chewed up by the borrasca moths, but otherwise fine. These two Brussels sprouts here, I don't know if we're going to get much out of those. Dino kale, kind of buried under corn stalks at the moment. Red Russian kale over there. Sort of surviving. We'll see. I'm letting the kale go as long as they can. Well, I'm letting all the borrascas go as long as they can. That really kind of leaves us with the squash, the two that remain, three apparently, I missed one. So the three that remain, and our Brussels sprout here that was previously hiding behind the tomato. Almost seems like it's suffering a little bit because it's not quite used to so much sun. But we will actually get a harvest of some edible Brussels sprouts out of this. First time ever for me, homegrown Brussels sprouts. Tried it once before. There's a video log of it. It isn't pretty. Needless to say, I didn't get to enjoy any of those. These, on the other hand, I see bacon and onions in their future. Which leaves us with the squash. There's that one fairy tale squash. Leaves are definitely dying, not looking happy at all. So I don't think we're going to get a lot more size out of those, but I'm leaving these ones to go till the very last minute. Grow, grow, grow. And here we have the leaves on the so-called giant pumpkin. I'm going to say it's a large pumpkin variety, but this is not giant by any means. These leaves are definitely dying fast. So I don't expect a whole lot more growth in that right there. I believe in the great pumpkin. Alright, so we got shocks at the camera. Bring around our measuring tape. This may be our last measurement out of this. And it's 45 3/4. The growth is definitely slowing down on this, but looking at those leaves, that makes sense. Alright everybody, that's where I'm going to wrap up this particular look around what's left of the garden. I don't imagine there's going to be a whole lot more of this, so yeah, I don't know. Stick around, expect to see me on Wednesday for the next Bear's Den garden update, and I may or may not get those Venus flytrap seeds started soon. I'd like to think that I will, but I don't know. Anywho, thank you all for joining me this particular weekend. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week ahead, and I will see you on Wednesday.